Hey everyone, my name is Nathan Bird, founder of Acquisition Conference, coming to Salt Lake City on March 21st, 2025. This is the Acquisition IQ podcast to help you as a founder navigate the M&A space by leveraging technology, understanding professionals who have been there and done that. And today we're seated with Derek Boman. He has been building fintech products for over 10 years, you were saying. And currently they're building a innovative platform called Socratics. And today we're going to be highlighting what it is you're building and then how that can positively impact the founders out there and those that are within the M&A space. So just want to say thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's hop into it. Why did you start down this path of entrepreneurship? I always like starting with that.
Yeah. So I grew up around software entrepreneurship. My dad started a software company when I was 9 years old. And so just being around him with his co-founders and building in a basement. And so from a very young age, I saw kind of what that's like to start a startup, software startup, get it off the ground, and was very inspired by one day, a lot of kids want to be like their dad. I wanted to be like my dad and one day start my own thing.
Well, everybody has to have an influence, right, in their life. And we believe that those influences can either be negative or positive, and it sounds like it was a good thing for you. So share with us a little bit more on, stepping us through the education that you got throughout high school as well as college, and then what has led you now to building the current product that you have.
Yeah. So I had my first coding class in high school, and I remember telling my dad, this is fun and all. I love seeing something come to life in technology that didn't exist before, but I feel like I gotta have some graphics there. I gotta have something visual. I grew up drawing and interested in art. I've always been this interested, left brain, right brain type of personality, where I really ran with that. And then my undergrad, I got in graphic design, and from there went into web design, and then into user experience design and building and designing technology products, bringing those to life, which eventually led me into the fintech space, built at a number of growth stage unicorn type companies, helping. And I like to say that the last 10 years of my career has been about helping people make sense of their money, whether that's a household with their household spending, or a consumer with their credit score and how to improve their credit score. And now with Socratics, evaluating private company data and helping prep for acquisitions and other types of transactions.
There's a lot of creativity that goes into, as well as psychology that goes into the creative design, UX, UI. I think that's a lot of things that people don't really see is the behind the scenes of the development of even down to the colors and the psychology of why you choose what colors, and then also whether it's a rounded corner or whether it's a jagged corner, the branding is absolutely essential as to how it makes people feel while they're either on their computer or on their cell phone.
Yeah. I mean, the ultimate goal with a product is that it's the interface between a human and a computer. And what is that interface? How do you make it inspiring, intuitive, delightful, usable to use? Which, as you mentioned, the visuals are just one aspect of that, but actually do play quite a bit of an important role, where there's something called the usability aesthetic effect, where the more visually appealing it is, the more people perceive it to be a usable, intuitive experience. So branding does have an important.
Probably it's also the perceived value as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into Socratics. I know you've been building this out now for over a year, but again, you've been in the industry for 10 plus years, understanding the needs for financial technology. So share with us, the problem that you're looking at and that you're trying to solve or have solved with Socratics, and what you guys are doing there.
Yeah, so it all started a little over a year ago, where my co-founder, Tim Oon, he's been in the corporate development, startup advisory space for a long, long time. And he was advising a startup on a Series A round, and he went to go build a financial model and a pitch deck. And he was like, I haven't been an analyst in 20 years. I'm a little rusty on all of these things. There's got to be some kind of solution out there.
Yeah.
Like ChatGPT had been out for a little while and thought, hey, like this is really tedious, kind of time-consuming work. There's got to be a way to make this a lot smoother. Well, at the time, he couldn't find anything. He asked around, and people were like, no, that's probably coming. Like we see where AI is evolving, where these new technologies are streamlining efficiencies in a lot of different industries, but we don't see anything like that yet in the M&A space or in the transaction advisory space. But if you built it, we'd be really interested in that. And I joined with them not that long after that. And so our whole thesis is that the execution stage of a deal, whether that's an M&A or debt equity financing, that there's a lot of tedium, a lot of cumbersome, inefficient, outdated processes that go into putting that together, whether it's building a pitch deck or a financial model or a SIM document. And our thesis is that with advances in AI, that some of those inefficiencies could be streamlined. And particularly in the lower middle market where there are few MD, or where there's some MDs, but very few analysts or associates to help them put together those deals. And so their analysts are stretched really thin. They have limited resources. Maybe they're farming it out to India or some other freelancer, where if we could make their teams more efficient, then we could grease the wheels of small business acquisitions and that kind of piece of the lower middle market.
So would it be a business broker that you're working with, or many people that are looking to acquire a company that would use your technology in their stack?
Yeah, so our ideal customer profile would be an advisor broker or a small boutique PE fund, so either buy side or sell side, helping in that transaction, that have teams that could be made more efficient through the use of AI.
Walk me through the traditional way. I know you explained it a little bit, but walk me through a little bit deeper in detail as far as the process that one within that PE group or one that's looking for an acquisition, what do they need to go through and what have they been going through now?
Yeah. So our target would be, like I said, in like a 20-person firm and under, which there are thousands of those in the United States that are helping small business founders find exits. And today, unlike at a large like bulge bracket fund or firm where there are a few MDs, there's some VPs, and then a whole floor of analyst associates that they just grind to the bone.
Yes.
Where they just throw hours and money or hours and people at a problem to execute on deals. In a boutique firm, it's kind of the invert of that, where there's more senior folks, there's MDs doing the origination, finding deals, working with clients, but very few analysts or associates. And so the work of the execution of putting together due diligence documents, putting together a buyer package, falls back on the owners a lot of time. And so they have to jump back into Excel themselves. They don't want to be hundreds of people that we've talked to, they don't want to be spending their time doing that. They would be much better served working with clients, originating deals, closing deals, where their maybe one or two analysts are working across maybe 3 or 4 MDs, sharing workload, juggling deals, where our goal is to make those junior folks more efficient, whereby the firm can run a lot more deals, they can do more pitches, where their teams are more efficient.
The tools in the toolbox of one that would use your product, where do they use? So is it at the very beginning of the deal that they implement your product, or how would they go about that?
So originally we thought that it would come into play post retainer with a potential buyer on the sell side. So that the sell side advisor, they get a potential seller on retainer, and now they've got to put together they've got to put together a SIM, a financial model, all of those documents to get it ready to take to market. What we did see and didn't anticipate was that we had some early customers that say, we could probably use your stuff at the pitch phase as well, where we could say to prospect, hey, send us your financials and we'll put together a financial model will do it free of charge and just give you a sense of where you are or what kind of valuation you might be looking at. And to use that in the pitch process, which we didn't anticipate that as a use case, but think about it, if you could do that and it looks like you've put a lot of effort into the deal, but really you ran it through an efficient AI platform. It produced a forecast model, gave you some high-level metrics. Then you could go back to the prospect. Suddenly, it looks like you're really invested in the deal, and potentially gives you a higher
likelihood of success,
of winning
really,
of winning that deal, of getting the client on retainer. So we built it as an execution platform when the deal is a little further along, but that's a potential another use case of just in the pitch acquisition phase.
There's so many innovations that are happening in today's market with artificial intelligence. As a founder, what would you suggest people to do to be on the cusp of this cutting technology?
Well, I mean, it changes so fast, and it feels like every week there's a headline of a new AI model that has been released that just is now beating all the benchmarks, and they're only going to beat the benchmarks probably till next week when someone else surpasses them. And so it is moving really, really quickly, and those people that want to stay up to date, I mean, you have to make a conscious effort, like to follow the news, to read what's happening, because the half-life on that information is shorter than ever. The learning the new skills, whether it's prompting or learning different models, like that may be outdated in just a couple of months, or what was not possible a couple of months ago is suddenly possible. And so it is one of those things where that's the world that we live in, and we're in a rapidly accelerating dynamic marketplace of ideas and technology, where it is incumbent on all professionals, I think, to learn and get acquainted with these new technologies, because they are going to permeate likely every possible corner of the economy. And where we think vendors like ourselves come into play is, how does someone keep up with that? Well, there's a potential for partnership or working with vendors that do make that there every day, rather than trying to build something in-house or trying to do something all of yourself, especially if you're a small shop or small firm. Like, why not work with potential vendors who are up to date, who are in those technologies, who do have engineers that are building in those areas, where that's a potential way to have the benefits of it without being completely in the weeds yourself. But I do think it is, just as professionals, that's the world that we live in now, right? That's where everything seems to be going.
It does seem to be, and being up to date is extremely important. And then also understanding the use cases for the specific technologies and how it can create efficiencies within your efforts. I know that's one of the things that you guys have seen with, your software. And so let's run through another use case on how somebody would, again, implement this, and then also what is it really saving you?
Yeah. So here's what our software does. Our use case is particularly around financial modeling and valuation models, forecast models. So what our users would do, so this is either a buy side or a sell side transaction advisor or PE shop, they would get the financials from their target, just a balance sheet and an income statement. Those can be wildly different formats. It could be a PDF. It could be a screenshot. It could be an Excel document. There's a lot of variable that goes into it. They upload it into Socratics. We use some artificial intelligence, machine learning to scan those financials, understand, okay, what are the line items here? What are the different periods that are represented? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? Are there partial periods in here? Use some of those models to understand the messiness that happens in a small business, private company type financials. And then we have a classification engine where we can normalize and standardize that data to make it look more like what a public company financial statement might look like. Normalized, standardized for SEC reporting, make a small business look like their financials look like that. Well, that's because with AI, garbage in, garbage out, you're not going to get good results if you just throw it zero shot into a model and say, give me a financial model. There's a whole pipeline of steps to prepare the data, to get the data structured such that you can forecast it, manipulate it, derive calculations and key metrics from it. So our first step is to use an AI to classify the data and structure it so that then we can derive statement of cash flow, derive other key metrics, EBITDA metrics, IRR, free cash flow, and be able to surface them back to the user in just a number of minutes, not the hours or days that it takes an analyst to clean up that data and structure and build an Excel model. We can do it in minutes and say, here are the key metrics, here's where this is at. You can manipulate and change some of the underlying assumptions to run different scenarios or get a different view of the firm in order to, again, prep that for a SIM document or evaluate that business if you're on the PE side. Is this something that fits my thesis?
From a personal standpoint, I've done due diligence on a few different businesses now, and the due diligence process currently is, someone shares a data room, then you extract, the data and you analyze that data, and then there's really not a lot of technology that has been developed, and I know you're in that space, so you're obviously seeing all sorts of technology that's being developed, and you are now, but the amount of time that you will save is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, so much of that from a technology standpoint hasn't changed in probably the last couple of decades. Like data rooms are just kind of a glorified cloud folder with some access controls. And Excel has been around as kind of the gold standard for how those things are done forever. And it's a rite of passage to learn all the keyboard shortcuts and all the formulas and all of the things like that. Well, does anyone foresee a world in which 10 years from now, knowing all of the keyboard shortcuts in Excel is really going to be any kind of differentiator or necessary? And we certainly don't think so.
It won't be necessary because, again, we continue to use AI, large language models that are enabling us to craft very detailed outputs, based on the data that's being input, and our prompts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where the language of talking with data or talking with a computer will shift from being formula driven or VBA or macros or programming languages, although I think those will still play an important role. The most important programming language could be English, could be just natural language, talking to the computer, describing your intent and having it understand and process that intent to produce some kind of output. Like that's a fundamental shift in the way that humans have interacted with computers, right? Where there's always been a pretty steep learning curve in learning the syntax and the language, the exact Excel formulas to get it to do what you want it to do. Well, wouldn't it be easier to just describe it in text or potentially with voice and have it understand that intent and produce the output?
It's happening now. It's happening now. It's coming fast, and I personally am excited for all of the changes that are happening. It's making our lives a lot easier, and certainly as business owners out there that are doing our due diligence on the acquisitions of companies as well as selling maybe the company that we've developed, I think it's important for us to know the tools, which is why, we're going to have you on our panel discussion through the AI and technology, AI and technology infusion into the M&A space and how that is growing now to be able to obviously teach the audience how to interact. I think that's what we were just talking about with the interaction of new technology. I think it's important too, it's not just the M&A space, right? We're advancing in every single stage, with our artificial intelligence and how it plays a major positive role in our lives.
Yeah, within the M&A space, though, there's probably no point of that deal journey that doesn't involve a piece that could be streamlined or automated or made
So true.
more efficient, right? Whether it's like we're looking to solve that quantitative analysis piece, but others are looking to help with deal sourcing or the legal aspect of contracting, and being able to take hundreds of pages of documents and find very specific language, or to be able to infer things across documents and just say, here's a data room of documents, find the most important pieces, or find these clauses, or where are the risks, where are the gotchas. And like what is very tedious work today, or has been historically, can be streamlined. And then therefore, what is the impact that has? Does that mean everyone now gets off their Friday night? I had one potential prospect I was on the phone with the other day and was like, oh, if your stuff could work like you say, then maybe I get my Friday night back.
Right. So you're changing lives.
It could be, or could it be just now you can increase the volume of deals that you do, or the number of things that you're able to look at, the number of companies that you're able to evaluate, where just the volume is able to go up?
I think it's really the efficiency that you're creating as well. And I think that, we don't like to spend a lot of time on things that aren't producing a result, which is exactly what you guys are doing, through the use of your software. So, well, I'm excited to, again, hear more from you at the acquisition conference as well. And just really the understanding of how AI and how technology is being implemented into the M&A space. Is there any lasting words you'd like to share with our audience, or those that may be coming to the conference?
Well, I'm looking forward to being there. Looking forward to rubbing shoulders with people on all sides of the deal process.
Well, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us today on the Acquisition IQ podcast. And what's a good way to get a hold of you, and how can our community support you?
So those that are interested, we're in a limited release private beta right now. So if you're on the buy side or sell side and you're a small shop looking to be more efficient, you can find us at Socratics.ai. We're on LinkedIn. I'm Derek Boman on LinkedIn, and that's probably the best way to get a hold of us.
So if you guys want to meet more people just like Derek here, make sure to secure your ticket at Acquisition Conference, and you can find it at aquacon.live to be in the room here in Salt Lake City. So thank you guys once again, and we look forward to making more podcasts just like this for you.